along the beach, you getting my cold shoulder. You crying like it's rain, you causing all the pain. No closure, I'm colder. You getting nothing, Joker.
Get down.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having fun. And most of all, I hope you're all getting out on the water as much as possible. So we're here today at Windsurfers World, where I work. Anybody that doesn't know where we are, check us out. I'll put the site up here. So Windsurfers World, what are we? What do we do? We are a windsurf center, and we do lessons as well as rent equipment. And that's what we're going to talk about today, choosing the right equipment. Today we're going to be focusing on boards. If you want to see sails as well, do let me know in the comments. Although the sails are a bit more kind of a weird subject, I'd say. But boards. I'll try and keep it short and simple. There's a lot to go. If you look at in the subject, there's a lot. You can go in depth and really kind of look at everything, all the little details about boards and how to choose them. But I'm going to keep it simple. This is a video for the people that are not sure what to take. And I have people that come here to Windsurfers World many times, and what do? They say, oh, I want a 95 litre board. And that's all the information they give me. I don't know what style they ride. I don't know, obviously I know what conditions they are and everything. I don't know their weight. I don't know their level. I don't know anything. And they just think that every 95 litre board is the same. And it's not, it really isn't. Boards have a big difference, especially these days. There's a big difference between the boards. So now, how to choose a board? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about volume. And as you all know, probably, if you don't, volume is the amount of weight a board can take on it. So how many kilograms a board can take on it before it sinks completely. So how much it can take while staying afloat. So here in front of me, I got a 96 litre 3S Plus. That's a Taboo 3S Plus. One of my favorite boards. I really enjoy this board, and I use it as a waveboard a lot, which is surprising to a lot of people. We might talk about that later. So 3S Plus, 96 litres. What does that mean? It can take a person that is, let's say, 85, even 90 kilograms, plus his sail, his wetsuit, harness, etc. You've got to factor in everything that's going on the board. So how much is this going to be lifting? And that's the size of board you want. That's basically keeping it simple. So 96 litre is one of my favorites. I use it for quite high winds normally. So I'm 90 kilos. I'm a bit heavy for what I just said, but I'm 90 kilos. My sail is very light though. My harness is very light, and I only have a thin wetsuit on. I don't wear a thick wetsuit, thank God. So 90, my weight plus a few extras, 96. So I probably go up to the volume of the board and even surpass it a little bit, but I don't mind because I do surf, like I said, in higher winds. So 96 litres is my board of choice for high wind. I'm not talking about crazy winds, obviously, as long as it's like 20, 25 knots and over. And and I have constant power, and I use it in waves. So that's how you basically choose a board for when it comes to volume. It's your weight plus a little bit extra to accommodate everything that's going to be on the board, right? Now, that's not to say that I can't ride a board like this, which is a 76 litre. All I would need to do that, however, because if I were to stand on this board without much wind, it would just sink completely and I wouldn't be able to go anywhere if I don't have any wind in the sail. Now, if I have a lot of wind in my sail, so if I've got, let's say, 35, 40 knots blasting right off the beach, I don't need to get out to a wind line or anything, yeah, I could take the 76, I could get on, pull through and just power up, and the power will be converted into making the board move and getting it to float and get going as fast as possible. And then I don't care that I have much less liters than what I need for my weight. Now, is that worth it? Do you need to do that? That really depends on you, the conditions you're riding, and what you like. Usually I would say, no, I prefer to have a bigger board and a smaller sail, but sometimes you do need to take smaller boards if the conditions are really rough and ugly and kind of choppy, messy, and the board just hits around all the time and you need something to just cut through everything. Then the smaller, the thinner, and the more kind of sharp your board is, the better, obviously. But except of that, I don't find any reason for someone to take a very small board, even in high winds, especially for new school boards. And this is something I want you guys to really understand, because have a lot of people that kind of stuck on the old school principles, which were not wrong for the time, but boards now, this day and age, the way they're designed is they don't lose much when you go to a bigger volume. So you still keep a lot of maneuverability, a lot of the smoothness and everything, and you just add some volume. Obviously there is a small difference, but it's not that big that you need to go for a very, very small board. Example, like I said, 3S Plus 96, and at the same time I've got here a 3S Plus 106. Now, are these boards very different? No, not really. You'd have about the same feeling from both boards. This one would be a little bit wider, a little bit more floaty, and it will feel comfortable in lighter winds. So if someone that really likes the 96 wants to go out in wind that's not just there for the 96, 106, it will feel nearly the same. You will not have a problem on this board that you are like, oh, it doesn't feel the same, my smaller one is better, blah, blah, blah. No, it really doesn't matter as long as you got the right conditions for it. So let's actually see some statistics, some measurements on the board. The 96 is 229 length and 61 width. And the 106 is a 230 length, so basically the length is the same, 229, 230, same thing, really, just one, that's nothing. And the width is 64.5. So you have got 2.5 more on the width. It's a bit of a wider board, about that much wider. And that does make quite a big difference in windsurf boards, I know, but because they've kept the shape as it is and it's a very maneuverable board, you will not feel much of a difference in lighter winds if you take this one compared to having this one and full on wind that you normally would ride in, right? So what I'm saying is on the new school boards, really don't be afraid for taking a board a bit bigger than your size. All it does is help. There's hardly any disadvantage to doing that. So really just go for the bigger board you kind of can handle in the situation, I would say, and take a smaller sail as possible. That's what I usually do anyway. It depends on your style as well. Like I said, I use this a lot as a wave board, the 96, and people are surprised that I'm using a freestyle wave board because I do take it in big waves many times, and I do probably like cutbacks, wave riding, everything, so they're surprised. Well, it has to do with the shape of the board, and that's what we're going to talk about next, because we said the volume is basically how much it can take on a board without sinking, but that is definitely not enough for choosing a board. The shape of the board is what makes one of the biggest differences. So why do I use this as a wave board? Well, it's 96, but a lot of the volume is kind of kept in the center of the board, so there's a lot of, like, as you see here, it's quite fat. Now on the nose it goes slim, so a lot of the volume is away from there. On the tail as well, let's see the tail here. It also goes very thin, especially right at the end here. It's got quite a wide tail with a nice shape. That's another thing I like about it in the waves. But the tail is there to kind of support the riding and the carving and everything, but not too much volume. So you do keep most of your weight and the volume here, which allows the board to be much more maneuverable in wavy conditions. Because if you think about it from physics, you have a plank, right? And then you've got in that plank, so here you've got all the volume and the kind of thickness here in the middle. So that means the sides can move around easier and it all pivots around the center of the board. So that's why this is a nice wave board, even though it's quite a big freestyle wave, like a 96 freestyle wave board, and most people wouldn't choose it as a pure wave board. But I do, I love it, because at the same time it gives me the maneuverability. It's got the freestyle wave aspects, which is speed through the turn and easy planing, right? Which is something I need, especially if I'm heavy and it's messy or maybe very gusty conditions. So now to compare shapes, let's go to another brand completely. So we've got the Taboo 3S Plus, and we're going to take out the JP here, the JP freestyle wave as well. So this is the equivalent of this board in the JP range. So now, what's the difference with this board and this board? Well, I would say if you're taking it out on a normal day and it's kind of like chill conditions, but chill, I mean like you're fully powered and you're having you have a good power in your sail there and you want to get going, and this is 94, this is 96. So the volume, not that much difference really. But if you take it out, you will actually see that this board, the JP, it feels bigger, floatier, and easier, especially in lighter winds. So when the gust is down. And this one feels more maneuverable. So that's basically the difference between them. Now, how can two boards that are nearly the same type of board and nearly the same kind of measurements? Because like we said, this is 229/61 and this is 230 and also 61. So it's basically the same shape, well, not shape, but the same length and width board when it comes to the measurements. However, the volume in this board is much more evenly distributed. So you don't have all the volume stuck in the middle. It's also got a fatter nose, got a fatter tail. So the volume is evenly distributed throughout, which makes it floaty throughout, which means that when you get on the board, there's not so much wobbling, right? You get on and you feel comfortable and it keeps you going in the lighter winds, and it'll get they're both very easy planing and very fast boards, and they jump nice, etc. They carve nice, all that. But this one will feel better, in my opinion, in lighter winds, and this one will feel better in higher winds. Also, this one is less maneuverable when it comes to things like wave riding, carving, etc., because of what I explained before on this one. So really, there's no problem. There's the same kind of board, different brand, different shape, and the shape makes a huge difference in which board you will take. I do have customers that actually come, they want to try out this board, they try it out, and the wind's maybe not just not there, and they come out and they really don't want to ride a bigger board. Some people just like the small board, so I'm like, okay, take this one. And they're surprised I'm giving them a smaller board. So from 96, I'm taking them to 94. But then they go out and they get going because they were just on the limit of what they needed, and this one gives you more ease on the lighter winds, and that's all to do with the volume distribution, the shape, etc., etc. So it hasn't got a sharper nose on the JP, it doesn't come up as much, the tail has more volume, the nose has more volume, and it's evenly distributed throughout, and it makes it much easier for people. I'm not going to even go into concave and the bottom of the board and all that. That's very complicated. If you're here for what I'm targeting, the audience I'm targeting for the video, which is people not sure what to take, then you shouldn't really be looking too much into concave. And also, like I said, it goes really in depth and it's really complicated. Also, another difference on the boards that makes it, which I'm not going to talk about, that makes this one better on the waves, is the fin setup. They're both tri-fin, but this one has a nicer shape, more wavy fins. This one has bigger middle fin and kind of more in the middle of a wave and a free ride, let's say, so freestyle wave fin anyway, which makes a difference, but I'm not going to go into that too much. It's mostly the shape that makes the big difference that people will feel when they're riding in conditions that are on the limit or they have different styles, right? Now the same goes for freeride boards, and there's a big difference actually here on freeride boards, because on a freeride board you have a lot of different, when it comes to the width and the shape, it makes a big difference. So one of my favorite freeride boards, I'll show it to you in a minute, it's the Taboo, again, the Taboo Rocket, yeah, the normal one, not the Plus. So the Taboo Rocket is one of my favorite freeride boards. I don't freeride that much, but it makes a big difference. Sorry, it doesn't make a big difference. It's a very nice board in my opinion. And this board here is the Rocket. Now the Rocket, let's see the measurements again. You've got 242 on the length and 69 on the width. That's pretty normal, but it's got a nice volume distribution around the whole board. It's a very flat on the bottom. Like I said, I'm not going to go into that, but it basically gives it a lot of speed. It's easy planing, it's light. It's a fantastic board, right? So this is a nice choice for 115. This is the board we have out now, 115 liters. So someone comes to me and says, I want 115. If they're a good rider, the wind's there, and and it's a bit bumpy also. This is a smooth board, like I said. I'll say, yeah, take this board, try it out, and tell me what you think. So let's just leave this here for now. There's 112 liters, also a free ride board. This is the JP Magic Ride. Now, it's not one of the obviously more advanced or kind of aggressive free ride boards they have. It's a very but that's why I'm bringing it out. It's a very kind of not intermediate, but very easy freeride board, right? Now the difference with this freeride board is you've got a smaller volume, 112. Now the length is 240. That one was 242. So okay, it's a little bit shorter, but no problem. It's still very long for 112. And the width, this is what is more important, is 72. We had 69 to 72. So this is a smaller volume with quite a big difference on the width, right? And about the same length. So where is that all that volume going? Well, basically that board is thicker, right? And this one is kind of more flattened out, but wider. What does that do? What difference does it make? Well, they're both quite, like I said, the same length, so it doesn't make much of a difference here. Just so you know, the length of a board, basically the longer it is, the less maneuverable it will be. But in freeride boards, they're not looking for maneuverability as much on the riding. They're looking for straight line bursting and then a nice carve around. But the main difference here, it's wider. And the width, what it does, it makes it much more easy, much more forgiving, and it makes it feel bigger. So a board like this, actually, I'd give it to someone, let's say they normally ride 120, 125 even, like a bigger board. A normal, let's say they ride a Taboo Rocket 120, 125, right? And they want to go on a smaller board, but they're a bit afraid. So I might give them something like this. I might give people 112. So it is a smaller board, it is a smaller volume, but the width is bigger, the length is about the same. And what does it do? It feels much easier. It's much more forgiving. So it's kind of like a confidence booster, right? But it's not only for people that are doing that or for changing down. It does help a lot. It's very forgiving. Like I said, it helps you learn different things, but it's not just that. It's very... it is easy planing, but it, for example, it does have disadvantages. Let's say you go out on choppy conditions, it can't stay down too much. It's very wide, so you feel all the chop, and it's really bouncy. It's really, it hits every wave, and it kind of flies off if it's too aggressive. So I don't usually recommend them, and I don't give them on wavy days or just very messy days. I'll always give them out on the calmer days, or for people that kind of need that extra help. So that width makes a big difference, and that's what you've got to be looking at. So if you come to me and you ask for around 115 liters and you're not as confident as a rider as you might think you are, or you never been in these kind of conditions, I will recommend a board like this. And that what it does, it gives you the chance to make mistakes, and it will forgive those mistakes. And yeah, that one is smoother, faster, I would say. Also, there's not a huge difference unless it's wavy. So it's smoother, it's faster, but it's a bit harder to ride, especially if you're first time on the conditions that you might be riding. Whereas this one is wider, it's more forgiving, it's easier to learn things, and it's easier to kind of just take risks and make mistakes and be forgiven for them. So that's basically a big difference in boards. So there you have it. That's basically what we're looking at. We're looking at volume first, but also the shape of a board. So like we said, the volume is your weight plus a little bit extra, especially on the new boards. Don't worry about taking that extra volume. It doesn't usually affect as much as you think it will affect. But the most important thing is the shape of a board. So how the volume is distributed, how wide it is, how long it is, stuff like that makes a big difference. And like I showed you here, you can have nearly the same board with a big difference. So I hope that helps out a little bit with you choosing your equipment, whether it's to buy or when you're going to a center to rent. If you want to come find me in the summer, come find me at Windsurfers World. Like I said, you can also ask me any questions you like before coming. If you want to check out the place or have any questions about the place, just shoot, no problem, right? So I hope you liked the video. If you did, obviously, subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, there's a lot of videos to come in the future. And of course, share it with anyone you think might be interested or needs to know this information. And any questions you have, whether it's about what we just talked about now, the boards, or you want to say anything about what videos we should make in the future, what the next video should be, for example, anything you want to say, just write it in the comments. If you do have a specific question about a specific kind of board, I have tried many kinds of boards from other companies as well. So if you want to talk and ask me something about that, no problem. You can either write in the comments, I will answer there, or you can send me a message on Facebook, Instagram. I work mostly on Instagram, so find me there if you can. And that's it. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed. So have fun choosing your new equipment with your hopefully newfound knowledge, and see you on the water.